So thank you guys for tuning in to the Prosperity Playbook podcast presented by the Atlanta Voice News. And I'm super, super, super excited to introduce you guys to this amazing, phenomenal, beautiful woman, Miss Hall. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So she is the CEO of Cami Cakes, and anybody that lives in Atlanta, y'all know what Cami Cakes is. So don't act like you don't know, because you know. So we're super excited to have you here. The name of her episode is called Generational Wealth, and the reason we actually named the show Generational Wealth is because of your daughter, and we wanted you to kind of speak to that.
Yes.
But let's have a quick icebreaker. So I'm going to read a quote by Ayn Rand. And the quote says, "So you think that money is the root of all evil? Have you ever asked, what is the root of money? Money is a tool of exchange which can't exist unless there are goods produced and men able to produce them. Money is the material shape of the principle that men who wish to deal with one another must deal by trade and give value for value. Money is not the tool of the moochers who claim your product by tears or of the looters who take it from you by force. Money is made possible only by the men who produce. Is that what you consider evil?" That's her quote. Tell me your perspective and tell me what you think about that particular quote.
Um, well, first of all, I don't think money is the root of all evil.
Okay.
I believe a lot of what she said, that it's a tool to
Mm-hmm.
exchange
Yes.
for what you want and need
Yep.
in life,
Mm-hmm.
and no more, no less.
No more, no less.
Can't take it with you.
You sure can't. But you don't think it's the root of all evil. So
Absolutely not.
why do preachers preach that, especially in our community? Like, money is the root of all evil.
Well, if money were the root of all evil, why do they need it?
It's next to oxygen, I hear, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. I think it's the love of a particular thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's the love of money and and it becomes your primary focus,
Mm-hmm.
then I believe that's when things can be viewed or skewed as being evil. And
Yeah.
it's regardless if it's money, if it's, anything,
Yeah.
sex, whatever,
Yeah.
food,
Yeah.
it can
Mm-hmm.
be, viewed as, evil. But no, I don't believe that's the case.
I love that insight. And I think I want to kind of segue into understanding. So, did you start your business
Mhm.
for money,
No,
or tell us how you started that
absolutely.
journey? Tell us about that journey.
No, didn't start it for money at all. Absolutely not. That was like maybe third, fourth on the list. When I started it, I actually started it because I knew. So Cammy was born. She was fine. And she appeared to be fine to me,
And
at
this is your
least.
daughter.
My Cammy, yeah, Cammy is
Yes.
my daughter. Cammy
Okay.
is the namesake of Cammy Cakes.
Okay.
And at the time when I started Cammy Cakes, she was just a little over a year old.
Okay.
She went in for a procedure because she was having breathing issues to get some adenoid tissue removed and her tonsils removed. She flatlined, didn't know what happened. 2 days later, then she woke up. She was put on life support. Anyway, long story short, she made it through that process,
Yeah.
and after that, I did a lot of soul searching, and I
Mm-hmm.
had this revelation, like, hey, I can't get any lower than where I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that I believe I was put on this earth to do? And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I always, always, always loved baking because I knew that because even when I was dog tired and didn't know, well, I won't say didn't know, but it was the one thing that I would always say yes to.
Okay.
Even when people
Okay.
asked me, I just didn't say no. It was like I would find the energy to do it. So I knew that that was my passion.
That's amazing.
And so I started it because one, I was trying not to go back into the corporate environment.
Okay. So that's where you
Two,
came from, the
yes,
corporate world.
yes. Two, well, there's a little bit more backstory to that, but yes, at that particular time, I was in the corporate world, and um, the second part is that I didn't want her to go. Well, she couldn't go because she wasn't well enough, but go back into a school setting. So I was trying to find something flexible enough to take care of her and also follow my passion. And that's when I just started trying to figure out, where do I belong? Where, find
Mm-hmm.
my space. and that's just what I started working on. I just started working on a business plan to make it happen, and
Really?
that's how I
And
started.
the rest is history.
Well, I mean, that was almost, yeah, 18, 19 years ago.
Oh my
So yeah,
gosh. And
yeah.
you're from Jacksonville, so you're not an ATLian.
No, I'm not. But
R
I'm not originally from Jacksonville. I was
Okay.
living in Jacksonville at the time. I
Okay.
am a Florida girl. I'm
Okay.
from a little small town right outside of Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay.
But yeah, I moved here from Jacksonville
Oh,
15 years ago.
I
Yeah.
love Jacksonville.
I know
Really,
it's
the
pretty
food
city.
is good, and
Yeah,
they
pretty
have
city.
bridge drawbridges.
Yes, 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 yes,
Just
yes.
a beautiful,
Yeah,
fun
laid
city.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the cupcake. Let's get back to the cupcake.
Yes.
So, did you feel like you could turn a cupcake business into what it is?
I knew at that time that it was something happening in that space based off of research. And
Okay.
at that time, rewind the clock, 18, 19 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
maybe almost 20,
Mm-hmm.
it was only happening in like New York City and LA. I'm like,
Okay.
but I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm in the suburbs at that. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, well, how do I create what I've seen and what I've researched and
Mm-hmm.
make it do what it do
Yeah.
in,
Yes.
in Jacksonville?
Okay.
And so I knew that, based off of research, that what it was, that what made it work in those cities was foot traffic.
Okay.
But the only place that I knew that that would work in Jacksonville was a mall.
Okay.
And so the very first location opened it up in a mall in the
Okay.
suburb of Jacksonville, not even in Jacksonville.
Wow.
But
I
yeah,
think that was smart too
yeah.
because location is everything,
Hey,
right?
location is everything, and when you have only a few chips,
Mm.
and you have to make sure that you put them in the right places. You can't gamble too much, so
Mhm.
that's why I chose them all too.
That's amazing. So the
Yeah.
mall in Jacksonville,
Mhm.
blew your business up and you were able to migrate to Atlanta? Why Atlanta?
Well, so the when we opened in the suburbs of Jacksonville, which was Orange Park, Florida,
Okay.
that very first day, I had to so go back. So when I opened that store, it was just me, my ex-husband, and that was it.
Mhm. Just you
That
2.
was it. And
Okay.
Camille was in the back of that store in a bassinet. He was still working two jobs, and I was the dishwasher, the baker, the
The marketer,
cashier,
the cashier, the
everything.
everything.
And
Yeah.
so on that very first day, sent out oh, what do you call those news, what do they call?
What you mean? Press release?
Press release, yes.
Yes. Yes, yes,
So sent
yes.
those out, got some news coverage on that day, and about 2 hours after opening, sold out everything.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so that started it, and that's when
Okay.
I knew that, oh, might be onto something. Next
Yeah.
day, and we only had about $50 left after opening that very 500 left after opening that very first day, and so it had to work. If it didn't work,
Yes.
then that was, I don't know. But yeah,
Wow.
so got the store open and was able to do it again, do it again, do it again.
Mhm.
And there was a guy, John Portman,
Oh,
from America's Mark.
okay.
Somehow he used to come through Orange Park Mall because somewhere nearby was where his private plane would land.
Uh-huh.
And so he saw us in the Orange Park Mall and like, after making a few trips there and requesting it,
Mhm.
or his assistant calling saying, Mr. Portman's gonna be in the area. Anyway, he encouraged me. It's like, I think you should bring this to Atlanta. I think you'll do really, really well. And
Wow.
that's what sparked the idea of me coming to Atlanta. But in the meantime, I had already moved that store. Well, didn't move the store, but opened a second location in Jacksonville.
Okay.
And when I opened that second location, I started to hear it again, from a lot of Black women saying, "You got to be in Atlanta."
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
I had a little break, came up here, just didn't know what I was doing. I'm like,
Mhm.
just go on Peachtree. Found
Mhm.
this location on Peachtree, and I figured that if I'm going to be in Atlanta, I got to be on Peachtree.
I know that's right.
People at least know that you are in Atlanta if you're on Peachtree.
Exactly.
And so found a location on Peachtree, and I actually thought that I would just be opening the store and still living in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Came here the summer of 2009. 9? Yes.
Mhm.
And opened the location there. and basically never went back.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
basically. Atlanta is a beautiful city.
It
I
is.
mean,
They
some
say
things can happen here. It's
amazing
magic.
things. It is. And I believe in magic.
Yes, yes,
I do. I
yes.
do. So let's kind of jump into some of the things that we like to talk about as far as financial literacy
Okay,
and economic empowerment for our
alright,
community.
okay.
Do you believe most people in our community have negative beliefs about money?
Yeah, I do, if especially and I'm guilty of this, especially if you wasn't raised around it and you
Yeah.
don't know and you don't understand the value of it and how it's earned and what to do with it when you have it.
Yeah.
If you just don't have that in your corner, then, you know,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
hard. So
yeah,
that's why the
very
negative.
hard.
So how can we kind of demyth or dispel some of the negative thoughts about money because we spend over 2 trillion a year.
Yeah,
And a lot of that money leaves from my hand and goes into other communities as soon as I get the money.
right,
In most communities, they say it's a mythology,
yeah,
but the money circulates at least 7 to 12 times within the community
yeah,
before it leaves.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't I think we just don't understand our power.
Okay.
I think that's it. It's that simple. I I think that we do a lot with our money to make us feel good for that
Mhm.
moment
Mhm.
and not really seeing the bigger picture down the
Yeah.
road.
Mhm.
Um,
Did you have
simply put.
did you have any like epiphanies when you started earning a whole lot of money from your business? Like were you savvy with money? Were you not? Like what was your journey?
My journey was I didn't have as they would say, a pot to piss in
And a window to
and a
throw them
window to
out.
throw it out. So I had to learn. So in the beginning, I was so frugal. Like when I say
Really?
frugal, I would not buy new equipment.
Wait a minute, what's your sign?
Aries.
So we cheap. We a little bit cheap. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I wouldn't buy new equipment. I
Mhm.
even I remember when I wouldn't even buy new pans, and I purchased all of these baking pans, and we had to spray them down to clean them up, and they were looking at me like, "Are you serious? Like, are you serious? You really gonna make us clean these
So
pans?"
wait, were you hoarding the money or were you saving it or were you
I was afraid. I was
okay.
afraid that if
Okay.
I spent too much, that it was gonna all just
Go
go away.
away.
Yeah, and so that's how I started. Yeah,
How did you get out of that mindset?
um, over time, little
Yeah.
by little,
Mhm.
um, just just throughout the process. Because I even remember, like, even one part of my journey, and this is when I came to Atlanta. Like, when coming to Atlanta was just so different for me
Mhm.
because when I got here, uh, people started talking to me about who's your PR person. I'm like, PR? Who
You
does
gotta have a
that?
PR person,
Right.
a
Just different
publicist.
things. Absolutely. Like just
Mhm.
hearing all of those things.
Mhm.
Who's your financial planner? I'm like, what? Where do you do
You had no
that?
idea none of those
I,
things really
I
existed.
didn't. I
So
didn't.
you had to learn along the
I
way.
just had to learn along the way.
And now
And
you apply those things to your business now.
I do,
Mhm.
but my business has, I mean, we can get into that, but
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I've had my, it's been a roller coaster,
Okay.
and it's been a roller coaster for several reasons. One is market changes.
Yeah.
The other is personal reasons. Went through a divorce.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Went through, of course, the pandemic. That was a big one
Yeah.
for all businesses.
Yeah.
And then being diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh my
So yeah, I've
God.
had three major whammies back to back to back to back. And when we talk about wealth, now there are some things that if I would not have made moves prior to all of these things happening, I don't think I'll be here.
Wow.
But a lot of these things happened. I had to humble myself and I had to realize that, okay, this is just the landscape I'm in now, and how do I deal with it? Having to pivot because of
Mhm.
those things.
The pivot is important, and
Yes,
at least you knew
yes,
enough to
yes,
pivot.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
Um, but overall, looking at the big picture is still a sustainable business,
Yes.
making sure that you make the right moves to stay in the game. Just stay in the game. things change.
Yeah.
And so just understand that, there are going to be ups and downs,
Yeah.
and all of those things. But
It's a part of the
mm,
process.
it's a
Like, we
part
just
of the
think it's
process.
all roses, and it's
Yes.
not.
No, no,
It really isn't.
absolutely not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really so.
Yeah.
You had a store in Camp Creek,
Mhm.
Vinings, or how many
No,
stores do you
no, no.
have now?
So currently 4 locations, three
4.
here in Atlanta, one in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
At one point there were, I think, eight,
Oh,
nine.
wow.
Yeah,
Was it
yeah.
too much? So tell us
Oh
about
yeah.
that. Was it
So we
hard to
tried. So
manage or
yeah, so it was fast growth.
okay.
It
Okay.
was a lot of, and then you got to remember, well, no, you don't have to remember because you don't know,
Mhm.
but also it wasn't just me. So
Okay.
I did have help at that time.
Okay.
But
You
as
didn't allow you didn't allow a franchise. These
no,
were
one
all
of them,
yours.
no, one was a franchise. So,
Okay. Okay.
but it was started by me, and then I sold it as a franchise, and then
Okay.
that franchise later closed. That was the Camp
Okay.
Creek location.
Okay. Okay.
So all of these things for me have been, learning process. Some things I would do again, some things I would do differently, and some things I
What
wouldn't
is
do at
that?
all.
What are the things you would do differently, or
Um,
give me one and then one that you wouldn't do at all?
One is I would definitely, in terms of mixing. Oh, I hate to say.
Just say it. Just
I
do
I
it.
wouldn't. Oh, well, I hate to
You're
say
gonna
this,
help
but
somebody in the
it will help.
audience.
It will help
Yeah.
somewhat. So you remember that Madam C.J. Walker
Yes.
story when she said, "Don't mix your honey in your
Where you get
honey."
your money?
That one I believe is a tough one. I
Yeah.
mean, even with starting and growing together, it still can be very, very tough to
Okay.
have
I
that
understand.
two people, two different visions, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. So
Mhm.
that's one of them.
Okay.
The other one is, um, in terms of franchising, um, I will probably do that differently.
Okay.
Yeah,
Would you set it
yeah.
up more of a like a licensing deal?
Yeah, just something. I would just explore it a little bit more. I think
Okay.
it's important to work with people who are from the same industry
Yeah.
that you're in.
Yeah.
That's where the passion lies,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
there's not so much that has to be taught, and so on and so forth.
I
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah.
Thank you for being so
Yeah,
transparent.
of course.
So, what is the easiest path to generational wealth? Earned income, which is working a job,
Mhm.
portfolio income, which is owning stock in the job that you work, or passive income, buying a franchise. What do you think is the easiest path to generational wealth based on those three options?
The options again, because I don't think it's any of them. Just from my first, just
Earned income,
uh,
passive income, owning stock, or I'm sorry, portfolio income is owning stock, and then passive income is like buying a franchise and getting residual income from somebody
maybe
else's hard.
option two.
Option two.
Yeah,
Option two is portfolio income.
yeah.
You think that's the best way? What about life insurance or financial services or anything like that? Do you think that's another way to transfer generational wealth?
I don't know if I'm the person that, and I know that what this topic is about. I just don't know if I'm the person to answer those. And I don't want to just sit here and just say something, and then
Yeah,
people,
I love that
yeah,
transparency. No,
I'm
no,
not,
no.
I'm not going to say that. For me, I believe when I look at the wealthiest people,
Mhm.
I believe these are people who had an incredible idea and
Mhm.
they stuck with it,
Mhm.
and they just built on it and built on it and built on it. All of the things that you mentioned are things that you do after someone has created that,
I
and then
understand.
you buy into it. That's someone else. So
Exactly.
you're making someone else wealthy. So the
Right.
wealth to me is the person that's on the top of that tier.
Yeah.
And then it's all of those people who then inject into it that makes you wealthier. And that's
Okay.
why I said that I don't believe in terms of generational wealth. I think that it's going to start with that person that's on the top and say, this is how it's done. And now you follow suit. But, I mean,
That's
that's just
I love that.
okay.
I love that. So, do you have a plan for your daughter? Like, do you have a sustainability plan where she takes over the business, or are you going to leave her an inheritance?
Well, both. So I kind of set up things for her to, well, what's been created so far for it to So wait, let me back up. So a little bit about Cami. Cami has special needs in terms of being on the spectrum, but she's incredibly smart, right?
Mhm.
And so I've had to structure things to make sure that she's cared for, and particularly after being diagnosed with breast cancer,
Mhm.
like what happens if
Something happens to
it,
me.
right? Well,
Yeah.
something's gonna inevitably
Eventually.
happen to all of
Yes.
us.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
if it's right around the corner, what happens? So I've had to
Mhm.
like put some things in place for it from that regard. But in terms of the business, the Cami Cakes portion of the business right now, it's just still I'm really just still working on it and trying to structure and create enough of um, sustainability
Mhm.
for it to be something that will grow, a brand that will sustain the test of time.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping at some point that I can, get this to a point of being sold or having a partner that comes in that says, I see what you've done and let me help you take it to that level that you're dreaming of.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
listen, we're gonna have some fun
Okay.
really quickly. Freedom or death?
Freedom or death?
Freedom or
Wait,
death?
wait, what?
Would you be like, okay, so there's a story about I don't know if this story is true, but
Okay.
there's a story about when the Africans were coming over on the ship.
Oh,
Some of them was like,
yeah,
I will die
yeah,
before I be a slave
yeah.
to anyone.
Freedom.
Freedom.
Okay.
Freedom.
Okay.
Okay. List three examples of how to say no professionally.
Oh, not right now. Um, Let me think about it.
Okay.
Um, uh,
What about just no?
just no, yeah,
No
no,
explanation.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
feel like no should have an explanation sometimes, especially as a business owner?
Here's the thing that I've learned that it depends on who it's coming from. Some
Okay.
people feel like from me or sometimes a black woman, that no needs to have more to it because
You
you're
have to
not here by
explain.
yourself. That
Yeah.
you owe us more, or But yeah,
No.
no,
Okay. Last question. Is tomato a fruit?
it is.
It is a fruit.
It
You know
is a
that.
fruit.
So
Yeah.
knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. That's what I heard. Okay, so
Yeah.
our time is up.
That was
Thank you. I know it was super fun. Thank you so much, Miss
You
Hall.
are
Do you want to leave the
welcome.
audience with any gems or any
Mm,
small bites that they could take with them?
yeah,
Okay.
I would say that at the end of the day, that you should always follow your heart.
Mhm.
But okay, wait, let me start. You're gonna edit
They're
this,
gonna
right?
edit it. They're
Okay.
gonna edit it.
Okay.
Mm.
It says, follow your heart, but take your mind with you.
Okay. Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you so
All right.
much for being here. You guys, we will see y'all on the next episode of Prosperity Playbook Podcast.
Nice.
Thank you.
That was
Go take
okay.
some- Was that okay?